Good morning and welcome to the ODPP Café. My name is Anita Onuko. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. We are live on Facebook. We are also on YouTube. The show is brought to you by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And the reason for this show is to educate you and to give you information about the law, how the law works, especially when you are in conflict with the law or sometimes in contact with the law, or even sometimes somebody will call you and ask you what to do, maybe because they're in trouble or they want to understand something. So this show is meant to educate, inform you about different aspects of the law, and more often from the perspective of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. Remember, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, they consider themselves ministers for justice, meaning they represent you, Mwananchi, in all aspects of the law. So we have this show, we have different topics every other week, and this week we've been talking about case management system, and the automation of the criminal justice system. Please remember to like us or to like our page on Facebook and follow us. Invite a friend to invite a friend. We are also on YouTube. You're welcome to subscribe, and on Twitter as well, where we are at ODPP_KE. We invite you to follow us as well and engage with us. You can ask questions, you can inbox, like we normally say, you can slide into the DM and ask your question. If at all your question is a bit private or you want some privacy, then definitely we'll get back to you. So like I said earlier, we are live on Facebook. We are going to run the show for 1 hour, and we are going to discuss about case management system. As always, and before we go into our discussion, I want to give you some updates from the court. And the disclaimer is it's not everything, just a few highlights from the courts and a few of the things that have been happening at the ODPP. So karibu sana, welcome and engage with us. We will sample some of your comments at the end of the show, and we'll try and answer some of them as you ask them on the show. So karibu sana once again, and let me just take you through highlights of the courts or some of the things that we have for you today. So the first case, and this happened yesterday, the Chief Magistrate in Milimani Law Courts, Honorable Martha Mutuku, convicted Anna Chieng for the offense of trafficking in psychotropic substance after the prosecution proved its case against her. Her co-accused Elizabeth Mboga was acquitted. However, she's currently serving 15 years sentence following a conviction by a court in another case that she had. So these two women were in court yesterday, and they got their sentence meted by the judge. The prosecution, led by Anderson Gikunda, proved to the court that Mr. Chieng was trafficking methamphetamine. I hope I got that right. I think it's a drug valued at about 6 million when the two were arrested in Diversion on 19th August 2016. They were found aboard a modern coast bus traveling from Kampala to Mombasa. So this sentence was passed on yesterday, and I believe, like in any other case, they may have a right to appeal, and counsel will just advise us on that. So the next case is about a man charged attempting to sell ivory. A man was arraigned in Kibera Court for trying to sell 2 elephant tusks valued at 300,000 to undercover police officers. The prosecution submitted that on 23rd June 2020 at Shell petrol station in Karen, Nairobi County, Jesse Karanja attempted to sell the tusks, which weighed a total of 3 kilograms. Wow. So this man was charged with this selling ivory. I didn't even believe this still happens. Corporal Lydia Njeri testified that she with her colleague were able to arrest the accused after receiving some intelligence report. Karanja pleaded not guilty to the charges and was released on a 50,000 cash bail or a bond of 200,000 with a surety of the same amount. So that one will follow. We'll follow up and see how it goes. The other case is about 4 cops charged with robbery with violence. 4 police officers attached to Langata's DCI were arraigned in court for allegedly abducting a man and forcefully obtaining money from him. The 4, Anthony Mwanza, Cornelius Wambua, Tom Otieno, Kennedy Omondi, were charged with robbery with violence. The prosecution submitted that they robbed Vincent Ochieng of $40,000 and $2,400 on February 6th at Next Gen Mall on Mombasa Road, while they had AK-47 rifles. I think I got that right. They all denied the charges and were granted a bond of 500,000 and surety of the same amount, or cash bail of 300,000. AK-47, I meant to say that. This other one is quite a sad story. A woman in Nyeri pleaded guilty to manslaughter charges and was convicted for killing her son in 2019 after she confessed to have beaten her 9-year-old son to death for eating food meant for his siblings. The accused pleaded guilty to the offense of manslaughter under a plea agreement recorded on 8th February last year. And this is something that happened at the ODPP. The DPP attended a graduation in Mombasa yesterday by Haki Africa. The ceremony was celebrating 110 youth they had been trained on business entrepreneurship, and this was facilitated by Haki Africa and Kemu. So the DPP was a guest at this event. He called on the criminal justice sector actors to promote the rule of law and ensure youth in conflict with the law have access to justice. So always there's a discussion of enhancing access to justice and expediting justice. So this one was in context with the youth. So during the graduation, the DPP urged the youth to use their education, at least the skills they got from that training, as a solid foundation for innovation and developing new solutions that contribute to economic development and nation building. So those are the highlights we had for you today. And the disclaimer is usually that we don't just give you everything that happened at the courts, just a few of the highlights that we think we should talk about. And we definitely follow up on these cases and give you more updates as we go along. So like we said earlier, like I had mentioned earlier, we have been talking about case management system. We have been posting on Facebook and on Twitter some of the information we want you to understand about case management system. Last week, the criminal justice sector actors under the umbrella of NCAJ met, and one of the discussions was about automation of the criminal justice system. And we thought that we should tell you about UADILIFU, a case management system that was developed by the ODPP, and it's already in operation. So it is very important for us to understand why this automation of the justice system is important for us and how it enhances justice. So on studio today, I have two ladies. I know you've met one, but she'll have to introduce herself for those who haven't met her. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and tell you who they are and what they do. Then we can get on discussing the case management system. So karibu sana to the show, ladies. Sijui nianze na mgeni. Karibu sana, Shiri.
Thank you very much. My name is Judy Chepchirchir. I'm a prosecutor attached at Milimani Law Courts. I'm currently based at the UADILIFU case management. That is what we do on case-to-case basis. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Karibu sana. Yes. Karibu sana. We are hoping to hear from you about how this whole thing works. Madam Siada, karibu sana. Please introduce yourself.
Bismillah. Okay, my name is Siada Mohammed. I'm an ICT officer and I'm also an administrator for UADILIFU case management. I think we talked about this earlier
last year. It was the first, I think the first show we had.
The first ODPP
Café.
Yes. So this is a recap, and maybe I hope to give you more insight about UADILIFU case management.
Yeah.
So thank you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, karibu sana Siada. I know we've discussed this before. It was the first show we had for the Café, but it doesn't hurt to explain or define case management. What is case management?
Okay, case management is a broad umbrella word that is used in processes that involves about where a case starts and where it ends in layman's language. Like starts from the investigative agencies like the National Police, the DCI, IPOA, ESCC, NEMA, among other investigative agencies. And inquiry files or charge sheets or other case-related files are brought to ODPP, processed through our UADILIFU system, which is a prosecution management system, and the same shared with judiciary up to where it ends to prisons or probation officers, sometimes up to witness protection and all that. But here at ODPP, the role we play in case management, which UADILIFU actually plays, is it's the automation of our processes, automation of the processes that happen at ODPP, like inquiry files come in, they're put through the system, uploaded, submitted to the judiciary, and the rest of the files are put through a module we call document tracking within our ODPP, where a file is usually assigned a QR code, which is used for tracking the movement of the file from the point of entry to the point of scanning, indexing, screening, and then eventually archiving, and then retrieval if need be.
Okay, so I want us to go through the system. We had done a video And I want us to just discuss this process of UADILIFU as the audience watches this video, and you just take us through this whole thing you summarized in 1 minute. So I'll start with you now, Chiri, as we watch this video. Where does a process begin?
So the first process, we have an office out in our headquarters, the Central Case Intake. This is where the police officers or the investigative agencies rather bring all their files for them to be screened or reviewed before we register them in court. So the process starts at the receiving desk. At the receiving desk in that Central Case Intake office, that's the department, we record all the files. We record all the files in the OB, depending on where they come from and the type of charge it. So if it is Kilimani police station, which station it is going, the type of charge that is going to be registered, or the type of file basically that is going to be registered. Once we have recorded all the information pertaining to that file, we hand over the file to counsel. So in the the Central Case Intake, we have prosecution clerks and we have prosecution counsels. So the work of the prosecution clerk is to receive the files and do the recording in the occurrence book, our occurrence book now at the ODPP. So once the file is registered in the occurrence book, so they are now basically distributed to the counsels who are there, who are on duty on the said date, for them to review the file and see, depending on what the file was registered for, whether it is a miscellaneous application, an inquiry file, or a file which investigation is complete, whether it's ready for court.
I want us to go back a bit.
Yes.
So the people who bring the files are investigative officers, who are either policemen or ESCC or from KRA, wherever.
Exactly.
So why do they bring files to you? Because now this explains how things changed post the 2020 Constitution.
Yes.
Why do they bring files to you?
Okay, so the DPP is tasked with the role of registering cases in court, initiating registration, initiating prosecution basically. So investigative agencies basically do investigations. Once they are done with the investigations, which is basically collecting evidence, writing witness statements and all that pertains to a file, once a complaint is made. Once a complaint is made, it is registered at the police station or in that investigative agency, who then do their investigation, do their work. Once they have compiled the file, they have to bring it to the DPP for the DPP to be able to go through the file and determine whether the file meets the threshold that it is required for it to go to court. That is the reason the file is brought to the DPP in the first instance.
So importantly, mandates separate here now.
Yes.
This is where now the ODPP picks up its mandate.
Yes.
And the investigative officer drops his mandate.
Exactly.
So they come to you.
Yes.
You register the file like we've seen in the video.
Yes.
The manual registration.
Yes.
Depending on whatever case it is.
Exactly.
So you also have your own OB at ODPP.
We do.
So that is manually done.
That is, we have a manual OB. Currently we are using a manual OB, but at the end of the registration process, like at the end of the day, once the prosecution clerk is has completed recording the cases which have been brought on that day, they go back and type in and automate them. They automate them into the laptop and make it digital.
Okay. Yes. So I am an IO, investigative officer.
Yes.
I have worked into the central intake.
Yes.
You have registered my file as you have seen in the video.
Exactly.
Then what else? So what happens after you've registered my file?
Once I have registered your file, the file, as I said earlier, it is handed over to a prosecution counsel who is on duty that day.
So what
the
does
IO,
he do?
The IO sits back. The IO, we have a receiving bay outside there. The IO, once you drop your file there, you sit back, let the prosecution counsel go through the file. He'll go through the file. If he needs clarification, if he has questions for you, we call the IOs. Now that our office at the Central Case Intake, it's not very big. So we are trying, because of COVID as well, we are trying to limit the number of people inside there. So one prosecutor per investigative, per IO. So in case the prosecutor needs you to come and clarify issues in the file, we'll call you. You discuss the file basically with the IO and sort out the issues.
So I'm trying to get now to the issues. What are you looking for in the file as a prosecution counsel?
All right. If it is a file which is ready to go to court, I'm supposed to make the decision to charge.
You make it there.
We make it there. We make the decision to charge there. So there are several things we look at as a prosecutor, whether it meets the evidential threshold, public interest, all those things that we look at before a file goes
So
to
you
court.
do it at the central intake?
I do that at the central intake. So we have our decision to charge guidelines as
Yes.
well, which assist us to make the decision to charge. So when a file comes to me, I open the file, I read it, the witness system, the contents of the file basically, and see whether it is ready for court. Whether we have all the required evidence, we have all the witnesses have recorded statements, basically whether the file meets that.
The threshold.
So
you're guided by the guidelines for the decision to charge at this point.
Exactly.
So now I have registered my file. I'm an IO.
Yes.
I have registered my file.
Yes.
You have looked at it and you've seen their issues. What happens? If there are issues, what happens?
If I see that your file has issues, basically.
And what sort of issues do you see?
Okay. Yeah. For instance, if it is an assault case, let me use an assault case.
Yeah.
So a file has been put where person A has gotten into a scuffle with person B. Person B got injured. So probably he hit him, maybe he cut him with a knife or something like that. And maybe the knife was recovered at the scene. The IO did not follow up. Okay. Probably the complainant is saying, I even have that knife, it was my knife. Where is the knife? The IO did not pick it. There were witnesses at the scene. Maybe it was in a family setting at home, a neighbor who saw them fighting. The IO has not recorded the statement of that neighbor. So if those things, basically, if they are not there, I'll return the file to ask the IO to corroborate the case. Go and write that statement. Go and bring me the knife if it is there. If it is my phone was stolen, do you have the receipt to show that you actually owned the phone in the first place? Go and get me a receipt to show that this person actually owned the phone at the time it was stolen.
So I want us to connect this,
yes.
And I'll come to you here, that's Sijakusahau. Yes. But I want us to connect now whatever you just said now to me as a common mwananchi.
Yes.
How does that help me that you are looking at this file in that manner?
Yes.
How does that help my case or me as an individual?
You as a mwananchi, I don't know, are you the complainant? Are you the accused person? Are you an observer in the case? So basically what I'm trying to do is to authenticate this process. Yeah. So previously cases would just be reported and they'll just go to court directly like that. So at this particular time, the ODPP has come in to make the process more authentic and user-friendly, I could say. So it shows that once you report a complaint in court, it has to go through different processes for us to be able to determine whether you actually have a case which is proper to go to court. Because sometimes even we can have a case and when you look at it, there are issues which we can actually sort it. But the first instance is, do you have a case? Is this something that we can actually look at? So once the case it comes to the DPP, we are trying to authenticate that process.
So the separation of powers was important. The separation of mandates was important.
Yes.
Because it protects also my interest as a citizen.
Exactly.
Remember when I started the show, I said you're ministers of justice.
Yes.
So you represent us at that point.
Yes, we do.
So now you've looked at the file.
Yes.
You've seen that it has passed maybe the threshold.
Yes.
What next?
If a file has passed that threshold, I will look at, I will definitely approve the file and say let it go to court. Now we have at this level of decision to charge, I'm sure you talked about the decision to charge at some point. I hope
we always do, by the way, every show, so don't shy.
Yes, so I hope the members of the public really know what it entails.
No, we keep telling them, we keep repeating the story.
So it does not, once a case comes to us and I see that there's sufficient evidence for this matter to go to court. But I can also look at this file and see this case is one that we really don't need to solve this case by going to court. So that is when there's another thing that we look at, diversion and plea bargaining. So if you bring a case to us, I've looked at the file and I see that it has sufficient evidence, but also at the back of my mind I'm thinking these two people are better off setting this thing out of court. I would make two decisions. I would either recommend that the case file is registered in court, they go and it goes for a full hearing, or I can recommend that we call the parties and we try to divert the case. We sort it at this point. There's no need for it to go to case.
Yeah, I think I read just about a case here about a woman who killed her son.
Yes.
And then she was charged with manslaughter.
Yes.
After plea bargaining.
Yes.
So is it that the file reached, say, your desk or any other counsel who was looking at it at that moment?
Yes.
And decided that there's enough evidence?
Yes.
So what do you tell them? Just go back and Who organizes for all those alternatives?
So, Anita, in our alternative dispute resolutions, we have plea bargaining and we have diversion. Yes. Plea bargaining happens in court. It is after charging. So
it has to go to court.
Yes. Okay. If you want to pursue plea bargaining specifically, there has to be a charge which is already in court for them to now consider reducing the charges, like the instance you've told us. Now, diversion, we can do it before charging. So there is pre-charge diversion, and then there's also after-charge diversion. You can also divert it in court. So this one, if I pre-charge diversion is what now happens at our central case intake. So if I see that this file is suitable for diversion, I will do all the necessary follow-up. So if I require a social inquiry report, I require a children's officer's report, whatever I require, I will ask for it from the IO. Okay. But I will write in the first instance, I will call the IO, I'll write in the first instance that this file is fit for diversion. Let's consider diversion in this case. One, get me the social inquiry report. Let's talk to the both parties and see how we can sort the issue at this point. Okay, so do you recommend diversion, or are they bound to accept your... We recommend. The alternative dispute resolution generally are a voluntary process for both. Yeah, whether you're plea bargaining or you're diverting. What we do is present the best case scenario for you. We present, as the ODPP, we present the best case scenario. If we divert this case, this is what happens. These are the advantages and disadvantages. If we plea bargain a case, these are the disadvantages and disadvantages. You are not bound by our advice. We will just give you the best case scenario and leave you to make a decision. If you don't want to divert a case, we can still. So if I don't, meaning I, the IO, if I don't want to divert a case, you move forward with it. It's not the IO. It is the party itself. So it is not the IO. It is the accused and the complainant itself. The IO at this point is our, can I say reporter, or it's our go-between, not a reporter. It's the go-between. He was a link person between the two people who are in issue here and the ODPP. Okay. Yeah. So we will just pass the message to it. And most times that I don't think the IO would really not want to divert a case unless he has an issue, and whatever issue the IO has, he has to tell us. I mean, why wouldn't you want this case? Do you have a previous records of this person? And all these things, we consider them before we make the decision to charge, or we consider them before we divert or plea bargain. If anyone has an issue, you're free to air it at that point, so that we can sort out all those issues before we make a decision. Exactly. So you can see what I was trying to bring out earlier. Yes. That you protect me as a person. Yes. So an IO from whichever agency cannot decide to intimidate me with a case. It has to come to ODPP for you to make the decision to charge or not, and or choose the alternatives to which was not previously the case. It was free fall. Case inaingia inaweza enda direction yoyote. Alafu I want to add that if you are dissatisfied with what your IO is doing about your case, you can always report to another agency. You see, or the immediate head. Or you can go to a lawyer, they will write to the DPP, or you can write to, there are so many organizations nowadays who are, powerful, who are always, for the public, they always want to advance the victims' rights and what have you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you have a complaint, you can always write to the DPP directly, to the office. We will ask for the file to be forwarded, or you can actually go to the station and talk to the head or a different person, and they will act on your file. Okay. Yes. And again, the alternative dispute resolution also decongests the system. Not every case has to go into the system. Exactly. That is the main importance of alternative dispute resolution. Sasa tumemaliza, umeangalia, ukamake decision, ukasema case file iendelee. Exactly. Does it now go into automation? Yes. So now what we are doing, as you saw in the video, everything is still manual. Yes. We recorded the case in the OB manually. The prosecutor who is on duty will look at the file, read through it basically, and he will make the decision to charge and write his recommendations on the file. by pen or what have you. It's still manual, as you can see, and I have approved the file manually. So once I have approved a file or I have rejected a file, we don't like using the word rejected. We say call approved or not approved. Exactly. So I have not exactly. So I have not approved your file because of such and such reason. So it is important to note that if I am not approving your file, I write the reasons why this file is not being approved on this day. Whatever mistakes that you've done or whatever areas need to be covered. So at that point, I will go into my laptop. I will write a letter. It has to be recorded why I have decided to decline this file. I write a letter saying, this file was brought today here, we have looked through it and we have noted these and such
there are
gaps here that need to be filled. So kindly cover these areas and then bring the file to us back for review. We write to the IO, we print out the letter and we put it in the file, and we also put it in our system basically. And if I am approving the file, I will write approved, give my initials, and it continues. So we'll go to the next step now after I have done that. Okay. Do you want us
to I'm thinking the next step is Siada. Karibu sana to the show once again, Siada. And hatuko tumekusahau. We're getting through the manual bit first of all. And I didn't ask.
Yes.
On a good day or on a bad, how many files do you go through?
Wow.
And from what time?
So at the central case intake, we open the central case intake every morning at 6:30 a.m. because we decided on that time because courts start at 9 a.m. and then charges have to be registered by 8:30. And you see, the investigative agencies come from various areas. So we decided we'd rather come in early so that we can do this work and not inconvenience the people in court later on. So we open at 6:30 in the morning. We have counsels who are on duty. The first file comes in at 6:30. I don't know if I can call it on a good day because
on a busy day.
On a busy day, we can have up to even 100 files. Like on a Monday, the central case intake serves Kibera and Milimani Locots currently in Nairobi in our office. So those 100 files, it includes traffic cases, it includes the normal criminal cases, and then we have miscellaneous applications. All those come through here.
Tutarudi kujua miscellaneous ni nini.
Sawa sawa.
File imeshaikwa kwa OB imeandikwa imeangaliwa. It has come now to start automation. At what point does it start being automated?
Actually, what Chiri has explained is that is the manual part, just getting the files ready for the system. But everything she was talking about, whether it's going to be declined or it's going to be approved, that decision is also going to be made in the system. Yeah, so that if tomorrow somebody comes and says, hey, I brought this file the other day and it was not approved, we don't know where it went, you can just log into the system and see, yes, this file was uploaded and it was declined due to these reasons, which is explained why they could decline approving a charge sheet.
Can a file get lost in between the system? Because you know, Kenyans, we know the stories of lost files. File ilipotelea mahali, tutaitafuta siku moja. So is it possible for a file to get lost?
Not really. Remember, she started with what she was calling an OB, but it's like a manual registry. That is at the point the IO walks in, before the file is handled by anyone else, it's recorded, prosecution clerk there records that file. So at the point of entry, that file has been recorded. At the end of the day, what is in that register also has to tell you what's in the system. So
you can't lose a file.
You can't really lose a file. And we also have the tracking part of it that we talked about. So for the last 1 year, I don't think since we started this.
That a file has...
Yeah, it's...
For as long as a file enters central intake, it is tracked.
Actually, central intake is like the preliminary stage for UADILIFU. So central intake does not stand on its own.
It's like a triage. I was there yesterday and
it's like where you check your pressure and your temperature when you go to see the doctor. Actually we can call it that. So
okay, so now we have done the manual bit. Now we start automation. At what point do we start automation?
Immediately now after she's or he has initialized, stamped, the file goes to that we call it e-filing room. So that's where we do the scanning. The file is scanned and put into a network folder, which is shared among all the prosecutors who are uploading files that day.
So what is file? The charge sheet or everything?
Okay, there are two processes that happen concurrently. But now they relate to two different modules.
Okay.
Allow me to speak about the e-filing.
The e-filing.
And then I will speak about the other one, document tracking, in regard to the files. So at the e-filing, as she said, the files have to be registered by 8:30 and they have to be in court by 9.
Oh.
So the timeline you have is
Very
like 30
short,
minutes, very short. So what we do, we scan the charge sheets and upload them to judiciary. So when you say actually uploading, you're talking about e-filing, that's where the key in, as we have seen in the video, the details. You select the law court, you enter the details on that file, the IO's details, the investigative agency detail. You enter also the case party details like the complainant, the accused, if there is victim, if there are witnesses, and then the charges. So once you do, and the counts.
Put their actual names, if at all.
Yes, yes. You have to put all the details in that charge sheet in the e-filing module. And once you upload, you get a matter serial number. Like that is now the first serial number you get within ODPP.
Oh, yeah.
And that is just exclusive to ODPP. It's not external. So once that happens, there's a second approver. She's done all that, right? But someone else has to look at it just in case she's missed something or someone has another opinion about it. So the approver will also log in and they will see that in their file review. And when they're reviewing, they'll be like, okay, Chiri has made this decision, but let me see if she has missed something.
Okay.
And that is basically like the head of that court station.
So things
or
can
a
change.
Supervisor. Yes.
So it can change from the recommendation you gave to something new.
Yes.
Okay.
It can change. Yeah, it can change. So they will go through that and then they will say, yes, I agree with her that this should go to charge. And then you will just go approve. After there's a whole lot of tests that you go through in the system.
But that's a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot.
She's explained earlier.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's part of decision to charge.
All right.
You use the
threshold. The threshold.
Yeah, the threshold, the evidential test, the public interest test. And nowadays we have a module called forensic. Also, if you have evidence, you put through that forensic. Is it CCTV? Is it evidential, like documentary evidence? Is it forensic? And if it's, you go through that. You click this one, leads to another until you make that final decision. That process is so fast, so don't see it like
I'm just about to ask, how long does this take?
Probably filing a charge sheet, if like on a worst day, if the network is slow, takes 5 minutes.
Oh.
That is when the network is very slow. Otherwise, it takes 2 minutes. If you're very fast, like Chiri, who has been doing this for like almost 2 years, it takes 2 minutes or even less. Yeah. Okay. So once it goes through that, the types of tests, and then you approve and you say, let it go to charge. After that, there's like this thing of, are you sure? Because you have to go through e-filing.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Now you have to go and approve the e-filing. And after you approve the e-filing, and then now you go to the e-file itself. At that point, the file is leaving us and it's going to judiciary.
Okay.
So once the file is submitted to judiciary.
What do you mean going to judiciary? Like it's now linked to?
We are integrated with judiciary through an API and also a VPN. The information is not shared just over the internet. It goes through a tunnel we call virtual private network to judiciary. And once you submit, judiciary sends us back some information, like the case citation, which is like the Republic versus Anita, and then also the case file number, among other some like small details that you have already submitted maybe. That happens, the case has already been registered. So there's another prosecutor in court and the magistrate is able to see that in his or her dashboard, and the case continues. And somebody else continues uploading here. So that is
I didn't ask something and I think I just forgot to ask. So the cases you deal with on any given day are the same cases that go to court. Can you upload a file whose case may be mentioned next week?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You can, but you will not do the e-file. You will go through all the other process.
So e-filing is done on the same day you're meant to go to court?
Yes, date of court. That has to happen like the date the file is supposed
e-file
to
is
be
real time.
Yeah,
it's real time.
It's real time. You submit and they get it immediately.
And they get the number immediately.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you can do all the approval. You can do the uploading, get the local number, do the decision to charge, and then approve the e-file, but stay with it until the date of court. That's when we submit it to judiciary.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's quite interesting. You're taking us through the modules, and there are 5.
Yeah.
So e-filing e-filing is linking it to the judiciary.
Yes. Internal process. And then once you're done and you have made that decision, you link it to judiciary. Okay. That's what e-filing is. You can also add additional documents. Like she said, a case is continuing, maybe there's a submission to file an affidavit or something that's linked to that case. You can also upload additional documents to the system through the e-filing module.
So the judiciary have their own UADILIFU.
They call it the CTS.
They call it what?
Yeah, they have e-filing and the CTS.
Okay.
That's the automated also like us. So once we submit it, it goes to the e-filing. That's how we get our number, and then the magistrate has access to that e-filing, and they're able to get it in real time.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, quite interesting.
Yeah.
So document tracking.
So document tracking. Remember, the IO brought a whole file as she's explained.
Yeah.
The file has like 6 subfiles. Subfile J, subfile, it has A to J. Okay, it has many subfiles.
What are subfiles? The stories behind the case.
So if a file comes in, there's a way the investigating officer arrange their files. So there's part A, part B, part C, part D plus C. So there's a part for their correspondence. There's a part where you put the charge sheet. There's a part where you put the accused person statements. There are prosecution witness statements, and then there's then there's also a part where if there's expert evidence, there's a part where they list it. There's a part where they list down an inventory of the exhibit that they're going to use on a case. So that there's a way the investigating officer, classify their files. So in fact, if you meet an investigating officer and if you're a lay person, you might not be able to understand because they'll tell you, madam, that one is in subfile J. You're wondering, okay, what is in subfile J? So perhaps I'll just go in and see what subfile J contains. Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
So that has to be separated because at every stage there's information to share. Let's say when you are doing the e-filing, you cannot share the documentary exhibit at that stage.
Okay.
It's not required.
Just filing.
It's not required at that time. You're just filing. So all you share is maybe a charge sheet.
Oh, okay.
It's not relevant. The rest of the file is not relevant at that moment.
All right.
So that's why the separation occurs. And it also, we are going to talk about disclosure later.
Yes.
That is also going to help us in disclosure.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I never got that when we were walking around the other day.
The disclosure?
The separation of e-filing and document tracking.
Yeah.
Yes, I walked through.
Did you go to the tracking room?
Yes.
Wow.
And I saw files and I had some files.
I remember I took you there and you have seen like 20 files, which was just one sub-file.
And that's for one case.
One sub-file. Not even a whole case, it's a sub-file.
Yes.
So we'll come to that.
Yeah.
So because you have seen how bulky it was.
Yes.
So imagine if you were to put all that through and send the same file to court the same day. We'll not meet the 24-hour deadline that the Constitution requires. So that's why we separated the modules, the e-file, from the doc tracking. So the same file now will go to a general registry mail. You've seen the general registry mail. So it will go there where they're going to enter the details of the file. So kuna categories of files. File can be a secret file, like the one if you write to the DPP direct and it's confidential. If I'm seated at the registry, I will not be able to open that. I'll just record, put a QR code and send it to his registry direct. Now that we're not going to talk about. It's a secret process that takes at the DPP's office. There's this other general file. Maybe it's an inquiry file or an adverse file or a file that is supposed to go to court like the one Chirias talked about. So once the file comes in, the general information is registered. General information is like who sent the file. Was it sent through courier? Was it personal delivery? Was it, such general file details? And then you generate a QR code. At the point of entrance, before it moves to the other person, the first person who receives will generate the QR code.
What's a QR code for now?
QR code just means a quick response code. That's what QR stands for. Yeah. It's a unique, it's like a barcode, but an advanced way of barcode. Barcode contains some linear information. The QR code has a lot of other information. It's more secure than a barcode.
Okay.
So that uniquely identifies that file. It cannot be the same for another file. Every file has, it's like fingerprints. The way fingerprints identify you is how a QR code identifies a certain file. So once the QR code is generated for that file and it's printed on the same file, it moves to the next stage where now the scanning happens. When you scan according to the sub-files.
You scan all those documents?
Yes, that's why now we have the document tracking happening concurrently with, they have to be in the system. Okay. So that we don't have the lost, meaning, when you ask me earlier, how does this help, or what we're going to talk about it. It has a whole lot of advantages. So the file is scanned to the system as sub-file, and then it's indexed, and then it's screened. Screening is where you determine, where does this file go? Does it go to Siada? Does it go to Chiri? Does it go to another department? And then it's marked through the system. All that is happening in the system. Once you scanned, you're done with the physical file. Now the file will be moving electronically.
Okay.
so that
So
if
these
the
ones are
person,
just kept.
yeah, you can be retrieved for any, if there's any need.
Do you get at a point where you're giving back to the IO?
The file.
The files and the
They
samples?
usually bring a copy for us as well.
Or they
So
just bring copies?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay.
They go back with
The original, whatever, yeah.
If we need a file later after we've made a decision to charge or before we need it's an inquiry file, they can make for us a duplicate file.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's always a duplicate file and an original file.
Yeah.
It is better for the original file to stay with the investigative IO for security purposes,
yes.
you know. So we stay with the duplicate file and work on that one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the file is moving electronically.
File is moving electronically, and if you need a copy, of course, it's in the system, so you don't actually need it to have in paper form. So the file moves, and up to the last user who makes that decision, either files a response, and then the response is dispatched to the, like if somebody made a complaint, it will move through there, and then the person who's supposed to respond will respond, and then it will be dispatched through the system with an attached QR code outside the organization. So you can trace from the point of entry as it moves up to the time it leaves. With the response, either to judiciary or back to the investigative agency or back to the user if you are the one who made the request. So document tracking has a lot of other things in it, but basically that's what happens in it. So that's why the file is scanned separately, including the charge sheet. This one is to help the prosecutors make a very quick filing, and this one is for us, you know, to automate our processes and, you know,
Still, I'm looking for my interest as Anita.
Exactly.
So my file will not get lost.
No.
It is all online and it's protected by a QR code.
Yes.
Okay.
So now our server is protected.
All right. So e-disclosure, what does that mean?
Before we come to e-disclosure, before we come to disclosure, we have to go to case tracking.
Oh yes.
Remember, she's registered a case.
Oh yes.
You want to know the progress of this case.
Yes.
So you don't have to
Who
go
wants
to
to know? Me, Anita, the public, or the IO?
It's a public information. Like if you just go to judiciary, is it, where do they usually upload it? Yeah, the general portal.
Okay.
You can just go and search the case and see.
I asked that because somebody asked on Twitter, is this system available to the public?
The
UADILIFU is not available to the public, but remember, the public even at this point has nothing to do with it.
Yes,
but once it goes to judiciary, it's a public information.
Yeah.
They can just access it through judiciary portal
Okay.
and see the tracking. But for us, we don't have to go through the portal.
Yeah.
Chirika will just come in, log in, and see her cases. Like these cases I've uploaded, I want to see what is happening to them. So there's a module called case tracking that will show you case activities and other case outcomes. Maybe there's a hearing. And we also have a calendar that is attached to it.
Yeah.
And you can put it as a notification. These activities happening, you know, regarding to this case. Maybe there's a hearing, an adjournment, or whatever is going on.
There's no hearing.
If there's no, it won't give any feedback, but if there is.
I asked that because you see the problems of Millie and court for my mention. Like, nothing happened. So where do I get this information about my case as Anita?
About now that tracking purpose, right? If as Anita, you're the public, you are not.
I'm the public.
Yes, you're not a prosecutor. So you will have to go to judiciary portal.
Okay.
Because once a document leaves ODPP and goes to judiciary, it's already a case.
Oh.
Remember now it's in judiciary, so you will have to go through there. But now this case tracking is helping her as a prosecutor.
Know the progress of the case.
Yes, to know the progress of a case.
So the judiciary guys update, and then you can see from your end
in real time. Yes. The magistrate does something, just uploads it in there. And remember, we are linked. So whatever information we send them, we also get information back.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a hearing today, and we'll be able to say, oh, we have a hearing on this case today.
So there's no surprise. There are no surprise movements.
Yeah, so key thing is keep checking and keep updating.
Keep checking and updating.
There's no notification which will come like, today there's a case for Chire today. No, you keep checking.
There is a calendar, but that now they have to link it. Like her, as a prosecutor, she has to, you know.
Yes.
Or the usual way you update your Google Calendar.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So we have another part of case tracking where if, let's say, for whatever reason, the judiciary has not automatically updated that, but you as a prosecutor, because you went to court and you know this happened today, you can come and type it in the system.
It will update theirs as well. No, or just
yours.
Okay,
just like a diary. We call it like a prosecution diary within the system.
Right.
We just update. So that is case tracking. We have something called e-disclosure. E-disclosure is the prosecutor shares the information they rely on in court. Like these are documents you are relying on. when you're in court. So you have to share that legally. You have to share it. It's mandatory for you to share with the accused person, with the defense counsel, and any other interested parties. And sometimes even with the judiciary, right? Yeah. So zamani, it used to happen. I'm sure you used to see lawyers pulling suitcases.
Yes, big suitcases. That is what defines. That is what, when you want to talk about a lawyer, if you want to tell your child, utakuwa leo unaambia uone wale watu wakivuta suitcase.
I think that will be, now they will just be carrying it for aesthetic purposes.
I think they are attached to it.
Yes, but there is no need.
So those are the files, the sub files, and all those things, evidence, everything is normally in that suitcase.
Mostly subfile B and C and the prosecution witness and all that.
Okay,
fine. Sorry. Technical things.
Yes.
Sorry.
So what does subfile B example have?
Let's not talk about subfiles as in like A to B. Let's just talk about documentary. Like
e-disclosure,
Exactly. So when you're disclosing, what do you disclose? The evidence you rely on, maybe the witness statements and other things, anything that you, maybe expert reports, anything that you will rely on and you will use in that case, you will have to disclose.
Okay.
So sometimes that file is so big and then maybe you are disclosing it to like 10 interested parties, not just the accused person, but many other parties who are interested. So you can imagine how many copies you will make. There are 10 files, so you will make like 10 copies each, right? For like disclosing to 30 people. So you can imagine how huge that physical file is. But here you just come into the system. You've already uploaded. Once a case is made, disclosure button is something that just appears automatically because you have to do it after a case. You don't even have to look for it. After a case, it just appears automatically. But it will give you the option to tick because now you will not share the small notes you make. Or a covering letter or something like that. You will have to share something that matters. So you will click exhibits, evidential documentary exhibits, I'll share this. Expert report, I'll share this. Witness statement, I'll share this. And then you just click disclose. So if you've already captured the email of the accused person or the defense counsel, at the first point of e-filing, you will just say disclose and it will go. But if at that stage you did not have that information, and that time they will provide that information to you. So you'll just enter the email and click disclosed, and then you will just get a notification you have disclosed this case, that.
So if the physical files, whatever room they are, if somebody plucks out a page or pages, it will be discovered when you're doing this now, when you're checking your e-file, your e-disclosure things, and discover maybe something is missing.
Yes, if I had already scanned that document.
Or cleared it.
Before.
Remember, it has, of course, it has been scanned because when it comes, remember the person who is scanning the file is different from the prosecutor. These are handled by trained record officers.
Okay.
At the point of entrance, they are trained record officers who receive that file and scan that file according to the okay, should we say arrangements? Not use the sub-files.
I'm the one who's just thinking about it,
Yes, so before it even moves from the first person, the whole file has been scanned in the system. So even if you were to unplug something from the file, maybe the original file the IO has.
If you want to become a Kenyan about things.
Yes, I already have my soft copy that has a unique identifier, QR code an ODPP QR code, which is like an e-signature for ODPP, like, we are owning it, it's ours and it's genuine. So that is not happening anymore. It used to happen before we automated.
So every file which comes into our office has to be scanned. I will not approve a charge sheet in the system if I cannot see the file attached to it as well. So if you, as the prosecution counsel has approved a charge sheet there, it is attached to the file, the records officer take it, they scan both the charge sheet and the file, it will be uploaded into our system, the UADILIFU system as well. So that when I'm approving this charge sheet to go to court, I can be able to see the file in between here, what happened here. And even if someone else wants to know what happened in that file, I can be able to share, because now we don't even have the physical file right now because it goes back to the IO. You can be able to click on the system and tell it, this is how I made the decision to charge. This is what I looked at, the file is here. That is how
so it's on this charge sheet, it comes from the IO with details of that case. Then you approve of it, it goes forward. He goes back with his file or she goes back with her file, the IO. What happens when there's a new discovery? Do they have to come back to you again?
Yes.
And then you start the process afresh?
So the IO will come back to me and of course will inform me this file, you had reviewed it before. Of course it will have our communication, it will have an e-file number on the file, but now I've discovered something else in the file. So we review the file.
Again.
Yes, we will review it and see what this additional information that you have brought adds to our case, whether it's really necessary or not. So are we adding more charges? Are we inserting new evidence into the file? It will depend, but we will still review the file. We have to basically, we have to.
You know, I'm talking as public here.
Yes.
So there are those cases of kwa charge sheet, mbona imetokea tena hapa.
Yes,
you know, so those things no longer happen.
Yes.
Or should not happen.
They shouldn't happen. So right now we are all about disclosure, as she's talked about. So if I have anything that I need to support my case, every evidence that I need to use for my case, I have to disclose it to the other party. We don't sneak in documents anymore. So it has to come through the right procedure. No, we don't actually. In fact, if you introduce a document in court, even the magistrate has the right to tell you, was it in the disclosure earlier on, even because sometimes you have an accused person who does not have a counsel, and you know you might want to you know take advantage of that fact, but our integrity will not allow us to do that. So if I have a new document, we will disclose it. We'll say this one came later. You will make a justification of why you need it to be in the file. Of course, the defense will be asked to comment on it, and then that's how it will go into the system.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What else have we not talked about? The modules. I think data.
We haven't talked about reports.
Reports, yes.
Which is basically linked to data.
Yeah.
So we've registered cases. We've scanned files into the system. We have tracked them. So all that need to be something that is accountable. Like you can actually make a report out of it.
Yeah.
So you can.
The report is for whose consumption?
Okay. Report can be used in so many ways. Basically, report is maybe for the consumption of the management. If it's she said she represents Milimani, so the reports for Milimani will first be consumed by the head of Milimani, and then to Nairobi County, and then to Nairobi as a region, and then to the DPP or the management of this office. So how the reports can be generated in so many ways. Maybe you want to know like the number of murder cases that you have handled this year countrywide, or you want to know the number of murder that has been handled by Milimani local if you're talking about Nairobi. So you'll be able to, there are many filters. You can be able to filter them in terms of dates, in terms of case types, in terms of locations, in terms of even who handled. Like if you want to know how many cases did Chiri handle this year or this month. Okay. So you'll be able to do all that. But what is important is how that data is used.
Yes.
So we have able statisticians or data analysts in this office who use that report to make sense out of that data. And then that report can be used for crime mapping and can be used to make informed decisions. If maybe you realize there are some certain crimes that are committed by youth under a certain age, maybe when schools are closed, like this happens.
Because the system shows age and all that.
Yes. It shows age, shows gender, shows education level, shows whether someone is represented. Like there's a lot of data that we input. And then now you can use that to filter and, why are these crimes happening in this region by this age group? Is it because of unemployment? Is it because when the schools are closed, the teenagers are this? So, and then now when you're giving back to the public, what we call CSR, right? Giving back to the public, now you can educate them, because you know where the problem is coming from, and definitely you will know the solution. So it can
helps you make decisions.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then finally, I think, so why is it called UADILIFU? And what is UADILIFU? So we've talked about the process and all those nice things, but now there are people. First of all, can you look at UADILIFU in terms of the system? Because my question was UADILIFU in terms of the people. So UADILIFU from a systems perspective and UADILIFU from a people's perspective. So what, first of all, is UADILIFU?
Okay, UADILIFU is what we named our case management system.
Yes.
The origin of UADILIFU is we have put it to vote within ODPP. And that is a name that has been chosen by the people of ODPP. And it's a Swahili word, UADILIFU. Actually, its root name comes from Arabic, the word adil. Adil means just. That's the root word, adil. But in Swahili, it's loosely translated as maybe precision, integrity. That is, we were like, this should be a reminder when you are a user to that system. And you're using it as UADILIFU because you will just see it in the address bar. it reminds you that, you know, this stands for integrity.
Yeah.
So watch out. So it's a reminder to the user.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to the user to uphold the integrity of the data they handle as they use that system. That's why we have chosen the word
UADILIFU. And when you're talking about the user, we didn't talk about this before. So do you know who is using the system at any given point in time?
Yes, we have.
Can I log into your system, for example, and say, because maybe you're sharing a desk or a laptop. So how do you know who's working on what?
So everyone, IT shops.
Yeah.
So if for you to be able to use UADILIFU, you have to have login credentials. So it's basically your email address, and you have to be an ODPP member for you to be able to log in and be able to access the system. So and we of course.
So my name will just pop out.
No, it's restricted to a domain.
Yes.
Restricted to a domain, and everybody has its own user credentials, as Judy has explained. And when you log in, you get something we call OTP, like one-time passcode. And it's just generated at that moment, sent to your mobile number. So if, God forbid, maybe you knew my username and my password, it's highly likely that you will have my phone, and you will also be able to open my phone and read that code. So that is just a security measure. That is one. And the other one is this segregation of roles. Like Chiri only sees what she's supposed to see.
Okay.
She's filing cases, she'll be able to file, and she only sees the cases she has filed and she has approved. That's it. She will not be able to see what Anita is doing, what Siada is doing, or what Mike is doing. She will not be able to see that.
Okay.
And everyone, like if you are a head of court station, you only have control over your court station. If you are a head of a region, you have control over that region, and all that. And for you to access,
you just see according to your paper. Yes.
Okay. For you to, like when we said we are connected to judiciary, we relay information through a VPN, which is just between us.
All right.
Point to point between judiciary and us. And we have the same within ODPP.
Okay.
So for you to access our case management system, you have to be connected to our VPN.
Okay.
If you
do I have to use the office laptop, or I can come from court and caught up in traffic and I just update?
You can even use your phone, so long as you have the VPN.
Okay.
And the VPN has unique identifiers. It also has its own credentials.
Okay.
So when you're logging in as a system administrator, I will be able to see she is trying to log in. She's logging in with her credentials, and she's somewhere else. But remember, now you cannot just log in just from the general internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
and it's important to bring out accountability. How does UADILIFU keep you accountable as a prosecution counsel?
Well, first I'll be able to, it will show me a record of all the cases that I've handled. Since I started doing UADILIFU, I will have a record of all the files that I've handled, and what I did to those files. Secondly, I think it creates a lot of confidence as well, even in the public and even your colleagues, that your documents are safe and they are authenticated and they are somewhere in the system, and you can always retrieve them, and you know how they were saved, how they were kept, and how they were saved.
So and then responsibility. You are responsible for the decisions you make.
That's the thing. And
they can be tracked back to you.
Exactly.
So if you make the wrong turn, you'll be called out.
Yes, I'll be called out, and I'll be able to. Also, that system will help me, remember that this is what I looked at when I was making that decision to charge. Because it's all there. The reasons are all there for any action that I decided to take.
Okay.
So accountability will still be there. You can still click on the system and be able to say, why did she do what she did?
All right.
It will be there.
Okay.
Yes.
So UADILIFU, are we there yet? Is it countrywide? Are we automated? Is ODPP automated everywhere? If I'm in Diwa, for example, is it the same process as it is in Nairobi?
Yes, manually the process is the same, because remember, we're all following the decision to charge guidelines, and we also have UADILIFU guidelines that we are following all over. For e-filing, we can only go as fast as judiciary goes. Okay. So currently, judiciary's e-filing is only happening in Nairobi County.
All right.
So in e-filing, we're only at Nairobi County.
Oh, just in Nairobi County.
Yes. Yeah. But the moment judiciary rolls its e-filing to other counties, we are ready to go.
Okay.
For document tracking, we are fully automated in head office and in Nairobi County. And also this week, as we speak, we are rolling out in regional offices. Okay. That is like Kisumu,
this week?
Yes. Yeah. Kisumu, Mombasa, Garissa, Embu, Nyeri, Nakuru. Yeah. and do we have another one, Eldoret.
Okay.
Yeah, so in all regional offices this week as we speak, we
So
are
they
rolling
just
out
they just do the bit up until e-filing.
document tracking. We'll do the document tracking part, but remember we'll move with judiciary space when it comes to e-filing.
Okay.
Remember, when you e-file, it has to go to a dashboard that is tied to a magistrate somewhere in a certain court. So if you file and you get the code, but the magistrate will still ask you, bring me the physical file.
Yes,
Because
they always want the physical. Most of the times they want the physical.
not necessarily, but remember, if they're not automated in the county, and you e-file in the county because you have your e-filing module, where does it go? It's not rolled out in that county, so you'll not be able. So in e-filing, we'll not be able to. We are not independent from judiciary when it comes to e-filing. But in document tracking, it's an internal process.
That is for
ODPP. So that's what we are doing countrywide.
All right now. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we wrap up this discussion and just now figure out automation and its importance in this criminal justice system. Why? And I think maybe now this is now IT defending IT, right? And maybe now you tell us, why is it so important for Prosecution Council to have this automation thing go live?
So the importance of automating our systems. Remember, the first question you asked me was, are we losing files anymore? We are not losing files anymore.
Not losing files.
We are not losing files anymore. We're able to access our records anytime, anywhere, in real time. So if you're not in the office and you're supposed to work in a certain file, you'll be able to work on it even if you are in another country. Because you will have access to the system through a VPN and you'll be able to work. So you don't have to be tied to the office, which is so relevant during this COVID time we are in. You don't have to be physically here to work on a file.
Especially during this COVID time.
Yes. You need a report. You'll be able to generate it anytime without looking for a physical paper that might be displaced for something at a click of a button. The other thing is that data will help you in crime mapping, like we talked about earlier, and also propose certain solutions, even to the larger government.
I wanted to ask, like crime mapping, beyond ODPP, who else does it help?
The government should be the biggest consumer. Also the public, if you know like this is affecting your area a lot and it's happening in this age group or this level of education, that has already given you enough. If you are a parent, you will watch out. Like, my kid fits in this description, so I should be. Like they say SOA cases, sexual offenses cases, or defilement. Most defilement is done by somebody who's known to that child who has been defiled, right? And then you will know, like, okay, I'm not trusting my daughter or my son, because it also happens to men, to people who are not their parents. You understand? So it will help even the public, like this, create awareness on what you receive, and you don't wait until it happens to you to start, crying and looking for solution. So it also kind of prevention mechanism to the public, to the government, to you as a person.
And I think maybe then a challenge, or for future we need to publish those reports. So now you tell us. Automation. Why is it so important for you as Prosecution Council?
I'll pick up from her. We no longer lose police files, or rather we have records of police files. I'm sure when you go to court, you will find instances where the prosecutor will say, I'm unable to proceed with this matter because I don't have the police file. The IO has not brought the police file. I could be having witnesses in court, but I don't have a police file. So once we have automated all our files, we have put everything is in the system. Even if I don't have the physical police file, I can go to the system and retrieve that file which was scanned earlier and be able to proceed with my case. So if all parties are agreeable, or if all the justice system are speaking from the same page, automation generally in the general criminal justice system, it will ease our work. It will save time. Even cases will be taking lesser time to be processed, to be handled, and there will be accessibility to everyone. Exactly.
Okay. All right. So let me just look at YouTube. Like I said, we are on YouTube and on Facebook. Mohammed Chuti says enlightened, and thanks to the host and panelist. Monica Mburugu says thanks Judy and Siada, you have provided enlightening information. There's always a chance to teach someone. Always. We just must always just keep doing it. Mary says powerful discussion. Thanks, Mary. And then this must be Facebook. So this is Mukana Mukabras. Mukana Mukabras will reach out to you. He says, I'm waiting to see if your office will call for a forgery file that DCI alleged was dropped to your office. Justice needs to be done. Again, that thing I was asking about, missing files, document tracking. basically. So this viewer wants to know what I think happened to their file. It's called Mukana Mukabras, and I'm just telling him we'll reach out. And then Becky Moirori is watching. Thank you so much. Yusuf Kimanthi says, guys, you've done it so well. You have articulated perfectly well. I'm about to say girl power, but yeah, to you. And then Bradley's watching. Harriet Onchiri says, well articulated, Siatha and Nchiri. Great advancements in justice with the UADILIFU system. Kyogora Ringine says, who can access the system and what information is in the system? And what I wanted to ask is, at what point does the Defense Council get information? Is it now from e-filing going forward?
How we interact with the Defense Council in UADILIFU is just disclosure.
Just disclosure.
That's a disclosure. And also when you're filing a charge sheet to judiciary, of course, there will not be a case without filing it. That's the first stage. The second one is the disclosure. The other one is if they are maybe filing additional documents, maybe like submissions, and they file direct to judiciary, but we'll be able to get it through case tracking on our side, but not directly like interacting with the Defense Council.
So they're just like the public. They'll get the information from...
Judiciary is linking us, not
Okay.
directly.
Yeah. All right. There's another complaint. Ivan Skirishkip says, it's now over 6 months since I made a complaint against your rogue officer. Wapi UADILIFU jameni. Remember UADILIFU for the people, from a people perspective, and UADILIFU from a system perspective, right?
Yes.
So maybe this one now again, we will direct this to the complaints department, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Camila Skipkor says, great initiative, making case issues easier and more safe. Good job, ODPP. And then Salma Ali Manning says, DPP Zanzibar is following this good job. So today we are being watched by... Thank you so much for watching DPP Zanzibar. We appreciate that you took time to watch us. And of course, for the rest of the team and the audience, thank you very much for engaging with us. And we have seen the complaints and we'll try and resolve them or redirect you to the right office to resolve your complaints as you've made to us today and maybe before. And we encourage you to just keep reaching out. We'll reach out to you as well. I think I want to come to an end of this, unless you have something that it's burning. Unajua ile preacher akisema hii siwezi lala kama sijasema juu ya case management. What is that one thing that makes you very proud of working under this UADILIFU system?
The fact that there's somebody somewhere seated and whose file used to be lost and never used to get justice because they did not even have this information. Before I came to the DPP's office, I never knew what my rights are because it's not something people used to talk about publicly.
Yeah.
Because of the DPP's office now, people are able to, articulate and tell people their rights and, like, you can stay chonjo. We call it in Kenya, like, tukae chonjo, tujue haki yetu.
Yeah.
For me, that is the wow moment.
Yeah, that's the wow?
Yeah.
Wow moment for you?
It's the system, it's the automation generally. I can be able to track my file from the moment it comes in and the moment it goes out. And if someone has sent a file to us and they have a complaint or anything else, you can be able to send whatever document you used, we received it here. We can be able to follow up and see where exactly your complaint is or where your file is. So if at all your file has been received at the ODPP, be sure it is somewhere in the system and it will be found. So no more lost files.
Awesome.
Exactly.
I think from a public perspective, just from me, not general, because I'm not speaking for anyone.
Yes.
I think today I felt safe. If at all I have a case, and then there's no trumped up charges that will come up after the fact, and if they come, then somebody has to justify.
Yes.
And they are approvers.
Yes.
And document tracking.
Yes.
So making you safe is what we exist for.
Making me safe as a public is what you live for. That is quite good. And that's a good way to end the show. I want to end the show by first of all thanking you for creating the time to watch it. Today we got the DPP Zanzibar watching, and yay, thank you so much. And of course to you who's been watching us all through, we thank you so much for creating time for this. Tune in again next week to see what we'll be discussing about. Ask your questions respectfully. We shall respond to you. We shall get back to you if at all it's a private matter, but we'll try and get and respond to most of the queries anyone is asking on social media. So we've learned about automation of the justice system from an ODPP perspective. Of course, the judiciary have their story, and I saw that NPS also has their story. They're trying to automate the OB. So imagine if the whole system is automated, then there's going to be UADILIFU at every step, right? and that's very important for the dispensation of justice. It's very important for enhancing justice, and it's very important for administration of justice. And this is said from the ministers of as the public, of course, in matters of criminal law. So once again, thank you very much Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our Facebook, like our page. Come on Twitter, let's discuss, let's have our discussion. It's at ODPP_KE. On Facebook, it is the official page of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Kenya. And on YouTube, it's the same as the one for Facebook, official page of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Subscribe, like, engage, ask. Let us all get informed because, like we say, knowledge is power. That's all from us today. Have a very good Friday. Have a restful weekend. And let's catch up in the week to see what we'll be discussing again come next week. Thank you so much and God bless. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
All right.